How's it? Welcome back. So let's talk a bit about how to breathe while you meditate. And this topic came up from a recent comment I got on one of my videos where I was talking about something called HRV, resonant breathing, which is a breathing and meditation technique I got from this book right here. A quick recap on what that is essentially you want to slow your breathing down so it's 7 breaths a minute or less. And then a couple other key points to go along with it is you want the exhale to be at least a little bit longer than the inhale, and then you also want to take out any pauses that you might have at the top or bottom of your breath. So on one of those videos, I had this comment come in from Matt FTP, and he wrote, "Don't inhale fast. Instead, essentially, you should retain and exhale slow. This is bad and negative pranayama," the whole making the exhale longer than the inhale thing. "Inhale should be longer and slower than exhale. So you could do this," and he gives this example. 20-second inhale, 20-second retain, 20-second exhale. Now, I'm not sure if he wrote this comment totally correctly, because in the example he gives, the inhale and exhale are the same when, the sentence before that he wrote the inhale should be longer and slower than the exhale. However, nonetheless, I thought I would go ahead and give this thing a try and just see how it worked for me. So first up, I tried his main recommendation, 20-20-20, which is essentially like a long version of box breathing. If you've never heard of that, it's a pretty popular way to kind of calm yourself down if you're getting riled up. So the classic way of doing box breathing is a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale. And now personally, I've never really liked that. I find I could calm myself down better just doing nice full slow breaths with no specific pause anywhere in it. And also I found the 4-4-4 approach to be just a bit too quick. I would kind of be more comfortable with like an 8-8-8 or something along those lines. However, when it came to this whole 20-20-20 thing, I found that to be kind of like way too long. Where, when you're trying to meditate and stuff like that, you're trying to calm yourself down. So I found 20-20-20 to be a bit excessive. After that, though, I went ahead and tried doing more of what he wrote instead of the example he gave, or just making sure that the inhale was at least a little bit longer than the exhale. I like that one pretty good. I was playing around with the times a lot. I was going like a 20 to 25 second inhale and then like a 10-second or so exhale. I found that to be, pretty calming and relaxing. Not quite as relaxing as, the way HRV, resonant breathing, was described in this. Something though, as I've been playing around with this HRV thing, trying to run my kids through it and stuff like that. So they were having a hard time exhaling slow enough where it's pretty easy to inhale slowly if that's what you want to do, right? But when it comes to the exhaling part, if you're not restricting the airway at all, it just kind of comes out really quickly. So something that I found to help with being able to exhale slower is, and this also came from this book. So this book has some other techniques in here of like chanting words silently to yourself as you're doing your meditation. And so what I found is, one of the examples is like chanting the word Om along. Well, it's not even supposed to be along with your breath. I'm just doing it along with my breath. But what I found is if on the exhale, I'm trying to say this word in my head, Om, the simple fact of me thinking to say the word starts to engage the muscles in my throat a little bit, and it restricts the way the air is coming out. So it makes it way easier to extend a nice long breath. And of course, once you kind of feel it and know what's happening, then you can obviously, engage that muscle a little bit as you exhale without saying the word Om in your head. But I found that to be a big help. I tried to run that by my kids. My older one kind of got it. The younger one, I don't know, it was way too complicated for him to try. But, so I liked it. I thought the slow inhale with the faster exhale was pretty cool. I didn't really like the whole 20-20-20 thing. And then the sweet spot for me when it comes to just doing, any of these breathing techniques, whether it's the slow inhale or the slow exhale, personally, I find like 3 to 4 breaths a minute to kind of be my sweet spot. When I'm really getting calm and relaxed, sometimes I'll be doing like 2 breaths a minute, so like about 30 seconds or so per breath. And so I find that to be nice, calming, and relaxing. Oh, and then the last thing I'll say, kind of getting back to the box breathing types of techniques, is I do like to put a pause in my breaths, even though this book kind of specifically says not to do that. But I like to pause at the very bottom, right? So I'll inhale slowly, and then as I'm exhaling, at the very bottom of my exhale, when I'm completely out of breath, I find like putting a nice little short pause there at the bottom to be pretty calming and relaxing. Another thing I like to do when I'm doing that approach is at the very bottom of your exhale, and you got to be lying down for this. I do prefer to be reclined or lying down when I'm meditating, even though that's another thing you're typically not supposed to do because you're going to fall asleep or something. But at the very bottom of the exhale, if you put this pause in there, you can just completely, I try to turn off and play dead. And I find it to be that little moment to be very relaxing and calming. And then it's also good at practicing to drop everything, right? So if you're trying to get used to open awareness meditation where you just want to make notes of things that are popping up in your head and then completely drop that, that can be a kind of confusing thing for people to figure out. So I've found personally that if at the very bottom of every breath I just try to turn off and play dead, it works really good at kind of learning how to drop shit. Then you inhale, think about whatever you want, bottom of the next breath, completely relax, play dead at that moment, and that can work pretty good for that. Another thing, as I keep getting sidetracked here, that I like with the whole playing dead at the bottom of the breath thing is in this book he has like something he calls the 4 proofs that basically when you notice these, you can be sure that you're meditating correctly. And one of those proofs is getting this skin tingling or body buzz feeling, right? And so what I found is, and you're supposed to feel this skin tingling feeling in whatever part of your body is the most relaxed. So typically for me would be like my extremities or sometimes my lower abdomen area. But I find that when I'm playing dead at the very bottom of my breath, right, and I have that short little pause and I'm completely relaxed, that can be a good time to find that skin tingling feeling as well and find one of these proofs that you're meditating correctly. And then so then if you're going to follow and use the skin tingling thing as your object of attention, at the bottom of every breath, when you completely want to turn off and play dead, you find the skin tingling feeling. You keep returning to it at the bottom of every exhale. Is when you kind of lock in on that and your whole body starts to get relaxed, instead of just being your extremities that get this very pleasant, he calls it like a blissful feeling, and it really kind of is a blissful like feeling. But that skin tingling body buzz feeling can start to spread out through your entire body. And then when you get this whole thing going well, I mean, it's like your whole body is like kind of buzzing and tingling. And one way you could think about it is you're actually in bliss as well. So yeah, kind of got off on a tangent there. That was just my general thoughts about how to breathe while you meditate. And yeah, until the next video, keep your meditation practice legit.